let us just let everybody know that we have a special guest on the show today. Her name is Mel of the Fierce Mama Collective. And just go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
So my name is Mel. Last name is Duettchen. You can try to say that three times fast. I talk funny, not because I'm in Quebec and French Canadian. I'm actually German, and this accent is what you get when you learn English in Germany, move to the States, and then move to a place that's French, right? Um, I'm a mom of two, and I was definitely not fit growing up. I was like the kid that was picked last in gym class, and my parents were not active at all. We had like these Sunday walks through the forest and the park. That was like the only boring activity level. They weren't into nutrition either. So I wasn't either. I did karate in my 20s when I moved to the States and yoga, but I never stopped eating shit. So after I had my kids, and I moved to Canada pregnant. I had my daughter in January
Oh,
in Quebec. It was just the worst. And I didn't have any friends because I moved pregnant. My husband's friends were annoying. I needed to get out of the house. And I found these mommy baby fitness classes. And I started going. And in the first class, the trainer was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I must have looked like I was dying. And she was sure I never came back. But it set off something for me. It's like I wanted to get in shape for my wedding, which was after I had a child, whole other can of worms. But I really realized I need to be stronger than this. This is not okay. And these classes became kind of my lifeline. And the lady also would dribble in like little nutrition things. If you want to lift, you need to eat protein. And you can actually eat kale. So that kind of set off my journey. And I liked how I felt. And at some point I had two kids, still didn't have a work permit. So it's like, okay, what am I gonna do? Work out more? And are you guys familiar with BBG, Kayla Itsines, the sweat app?
yes, yes.
That's how I started. I had like my PDF papers in the gym, and I just really realized you can work out at home, you can work out at the gym. And it's what started my journey.
Mm.
And I became a trainer just because I thought it was so interesting. And I never thought I'd work like that. I thought I'd go back to my purple job. But then one of the local gyms here, I won a giveaway. And she's, "Oh, you're a trainer. You're working on becoming a trainer. I'm actually looking for somebody." I'm like, okay. So I kind of just fell into place for me.
That's an amazing story. I had no idea about all that.
Yeah, I was not one of those people that went to university and studied training, kinesiology, all these things. No, it kind of just came to me.
Did you, so you worked in person and then you started online?
Yeah, I mean, I worked in person and I taught classes at different places. You know the deal. Like you run from one place, then you go to the next, and you try to get your workout in. And then the pandemic hit and everything closed. It's like, oh, good Lord, what do we do? And I remember my first workout at home. I had a home gym still from way back when I was working out at home when the kids were small. And I had these kettlebells and I was training with on like I was certified by a trainer who was also live streaming her classes, kettlebell kickboxing in Regina. They were still open. Quebec was shut down, and I was swinging kettlebells, watching them in the studio, following along their classes, bawling my eyes out. I was like, "Oh my God,
That's
this is
awesome.
going to be the longest 2 weeks of my life." And it took 3 years for us to open here in Quebec. But that and I started teaching online classes, and I think, hey, this is super convenient.
Mhm.
And I obviously at some point I went back in person and I started teaching mommy baby fitness classes, which kind of just is like, hey, I offered this, I need to do this again. And after the pandemic here, there was nothing. So I started with the classes, and then people were like, yeah, I can't really make it to class. And I was doing like a little bit of a hybrid. And now I have one in-person class left and a couple of in-person clients, but I'm mostly moving everything online just because it is so convenient.
Um,
Fix my hair.
is my sound on? Yep,
Yes,
we
we
can
can
hear
hear you.
you. Oh, okay. I was going to say, Mel, Danka, for that. Thank you for that introduction. And I think it's so important when we hear people's backgrounds because I feel like in the fitness industry, people from the outside or who want to get in think that most people in the industry have been in it their whole life, came from that lifestyle, and are bred from that. But it's just so awesome to hear that that wasn't how your experience. And it's, I want to get that message out to more people. So it is something that people can do. It's
Exactly. And that's one of my big messages too. It's like you don't have to be fit to go start into the gym. Like the worst, like I'm gonna lose 10 pounds and then I'm gonna stop working out. I'm like, well, how are you gonna lose those 10 pounds? Or you don't understand, you've always been fit. I'm like, dude, I've had to actually, even since I restarted my journey after having kids, I had to restart again after I was really, really sick. And we are, even though we are in the fitness space and we might look nice on our photo shoot pictures and with the muscles and we know how to pose, we're still struggling. We are having the same issues and we're not always fit.
no,
Oh,
no,
yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up
no,
because,
exactly.
we hear it all the time, like Instagram is a highlight reel, but people don't really get that. They really think that, you know, fitness professionals look that way all the time.
People would be shocked. I mean, I've done some photo shoots, like not last year, but the year before. I did 3 photo shoots, and was on the cover of Strong Fitness magazine and Inside Strong Fitness magazine, and placed in Hot and Fit, and I look great. The spray tan, the lashes, all that. They'd be shocked if they would see me like 3 days later sitting on the couch, with a glass of wine, a bag of chips in my bathrobe on a Friday night. We're not. I look like shit all the time, and I look like shit at the gym. I look like shit at home. And is this one of those podcasts where nobody swears?
No,
Sorry.
no, no. You say whatever you want to
I
say.
should have asked that before you started recording. No, I just think that people have this perception of us fitness people, and that might intimidate them so much that they're hesitant to start. It's like, I'm never going to look like that. It's like, I didn't start out wanting to be on the cover of a freaking magazine. I started out wanting to, get rid of the mummy tummy. It irks me now saying that, but I wanted to be skinny and I got really skinny and I had these stark circles under my eyes and it's like a phase that I had to go through. But I started because I wanted to lose weight. And then I realized I want to be able to lift my kids and I want to be not out of breath when I walk up the stairs. That's how I started. And that is the main motivation. Women want to lose weight and they want to be stronger. So nobody sets out wanting to be a bodybuilding competition, like most people at least don't. I've never had a client who said, "Hey, I want to be on stage."
I feel like it's hard for people to grasp that you can be that body that's on stage and you can also be the off season and the not extremely low body percent fat. You
Yeah.
can be two things. We are dynamic and we're not going to experience those at the same time, but
Yeah.
we'll be the same body in different physiques, and that's normal.
Yeah, it's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde phase.
Truly.
But
Oh,
that truly is balance, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That's what balance is. There's
And
no need
even,
for one thing.
it's just like, you need to explain to people, we have that in clients like, hey, you've been in a cut now for 8, 12 weeks. You kind of have to eat a little bit more and then we can go into it. Oh, I want to build muscle. I'm like, well, you can't because you're in a deficit. I mean, many of my clients don't even get there because it's just all about my mission is like to get them moving, to get them to lose the weight that they want to lose. And there are so many days where they're just not in the deficit or, on weekends or they're going away. So you have kind of your natural reset. But just the concept that you cannot build muscle if you're in a deficit and you don't need to eat less than you're already eating. You need to actually eat more and you can eat more than 800 calories. I think that concept is very hard for women because we've been so conditioned to believe eat less, do more cardio, shrink yourself. This whole thing of women having muscle, I think that's new. Or maybe
Mhm.
I'm just late to the party.
No, no, you're not late to the party. I think the world is finally getting there in the sense of, like Jen and I talked about in our last podcast episode, where girls and we have all felt that we want to be smaller and shrink and not grow muscle and be strong and everything. So when we come into the bodybuilding type of training, it's about maximizing how much protein you can eat and eating more and moving your body and nothing too crazy, but when you actually apply these things together, it's going to make a crazy, crazy difference.
Yeah. But I think it is hard to get women to eat more protein. You make the meal plan and you show them the portion. You're like, this is what you got to eat, 120 grams of chicken. And they're looking at it and they're like they just can't.
Yeah.
You know,
It's sometimes when they're used to eating extremely low, I just ramp it up slowly, because it can be really overwhelming for someone that's in a constant state of restriction and has been trying to eat as little as possible for as long as possible. What the rest of us are eating looks like way too much food. And it can be not just like physically they think they can't eat it, but mentally it can be really hard to accept that we can eat that much and it's okay. We're not going to blow up.
yeah, and like our bodies need it. Or this whole thing about a cheat meal. Like this whole thing, oh, you'll never eat cookies. I'm like, I just had cookies, like you can't eat any of those again. So this whole thing about building that into your lifestyle. So, like, oh, after my workout, I'll have a protein shake and a cookie. And I don't need to eat a whole bag on a Friday night because I know I'm going to the gym the next day, and then I'm putting this cookie to good use as my post workout. Or I'm just 2 weeks into a challenge, and everybody's doing their check-ins and everybody has a meal plan. And one of my clients said, yeah, I don't know if I can follow this for the next 12 weeks because at some point I'm just going to want a big bowl of pasta. I'm like, well, then one day you're going to have a big bowl of pasta because this one meal is not going to cancel out everything that you work for. The other, whatever, your 5 meals per day, it's one meal is not going to ruin everything you've worked for. That's where the balance comes in. For most people, it starts in a diet, but then while you're in the diet phase, you also have to start building in little treats or bowls of pasta, so you don't deprive yourself so much that you're at some point like, I can't do this, and you just go back to whatever you were eating before.
Definitely. I feel like humans, we respond better to rewards and incentives and like challenging ourselves to things, and not instead of you ate, a bag of cookies and now you're gonna not eat a carb, only lettuce, and go to the gym all week. That's not solving anything, and it's gonna ultimately fail because it's just a system meant to fail. But
And you're beating yourself up too.
yes, and that's not helpful. And we all have seen that you can't hate yourself into self-love or discipline or action.
I
You
love that. You can't hate yourself, but to save self-love. I think that's like a whole podcast episode right there.
definitely, because it's like, if you don't like things about yourself, you can change them, but you just say, oh, I just hate myself, and you don't do anything, nothing's going to come from that either.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, the whole concept of wanting to change your body because you hate yourself and you hate your body. I feel we need to get to the point where all these changes are made out of a love for your body. Love your body because you want it to function. You want it to look a certain way. Like, hey, it's great. I made people. My body is a magical unicorn, but now I can treat it a certain way so it can go to its full potential.
That reminds me of one of the reels I really loved on your Instagram, where you talked about, I don't care why you got started, if it was just to look skinny or
Yeah.
whatever. I just care that you started. Um, I just thought that was an awesome message because sometimes we kind of I feel like in the fitness space, there's a little bit of pushback against like just wanting to look a certain way,
Yeah.
or having aesthetic goals, which I don't think is a bad thing.
And there's also like there's legit a ton of people who need to lose some weight for health reasons, even if it's not obvious now. They just know, like, if you lose 10 pounds, if you're 200 pounds and you feel okay, but if you lose 10 pounds, you're going to be going up the stairs easier. It's going to be easier for your joints. And maybe 20 years down the road, you won't be walking with a cane. It's like it might be fine now, but look at your future. And I find this also is not a contradiction to the whole body positivity movement, because you can love your body the way it is, but you can say, hey, you know what? I can get it to function more optimal if I lose some weight. And then I can also look a certain way. I think it goes together. And in the end, everybody who's out there saying, oh, you shouldn't start because you want to lose weight, the only acceptable reason is to get strong or whatever. I bet you they all had that phase that they went through. And I think we have to get through that phase, trying to be skinny, trying to look a certain way, be absolutely miserable, so we can really feel like, hey, this is not working. I can sit here and be on my high horse like, oh yeah, weight loss is not just about the way you look and your pants fit and how skinny you are, but I've been there and I know it's not. My clients might have to go through that.
Yeah, that's definitely I feel it's like something that we all go through. I haven't met anybody who didn't have that to begin with, and then it kind of leads into deeper whys and different reasons,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think that's why our role as coaches is also so important, For example, like somebody says, oh, you know what? And actually, it just happened, this is called as that's the right time. 2 weeks and oh, I only lost 2 pounds from somebody who's a little heavier. I'm like, you lost 2 pounds. You lost 2 inches around your waist. That's amazing. What were you expecting? You're losing 2 pounds. That's average weight loss. Maybe next week you'll lose another two. You're right on track.
And
And how do you feel?
the role of the coach and the trainer is just like such an essential role in the fitness, wellness, like even mental health. Because I know that when I first started training with my personal trainer, it was like basic things. It seems basic to that person, like, oh, I only lost 2 pounds because this person loses 50 and 100, or you want to lose that, but you're not there yet. When you have that encouragement and that empowerment from your trainer and from your coach, it goes such a long way, because without it, it's not something that you would have celebrated, and it's something that you might have not used for your momentum to push you forward, and you might have fell flat because you wanted to lose 10 instead of 2, but you don't realize how good of an achievement that is.
Yeah, and also how normal the pace is, because
Yeah.
you compare yourself to somebody who's probably lying about their results and then maybe did a crash diet, lost like, I don't know, 8 pounds in 2 weeks and is gaining everything back when they start eating solid food again, and then we need the support. I think a lot of times within our family or within our friends group, we are friends or because we are living the same lifestyle. So all of a sudden you stop drinking all that wine, you start eating in a healthier way, you start working out and you lose some weight. Everybody's like, what's wrong with her? We want her to, I don't know, drink wine with us and then spend the day sitting on the couch eating potato chips, complaining about our partners. And it's hard for people to deal with. So if have a community of women around you who are in the same boat, I find that extremely helpful. So you're like, somebody says, oh, this happened to me. Like, oh, it happened to me too. Or this is how I feel. Or this is my win. And like, wait, she lost like 1 pound and she can lift a little heavier. That's her win. I'm like, oh, this happened to me too. I have a heavier weight this week. I feel we really need people around us that are on the same path.
Yeah, and I feel like even if you don't have them in your like real life, find them on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, hey, that's how we met, you know.
Yeah.
It's just networking. And I've met a lot of amazing women just on Instagram. Um, so sometimes even if you don't have, even if your real life friends and family are not on the same journey as you, that's okay, but you can seek that out.
Yeah, and these can be real friends. I mean, when I started with my PDFs from the Beachbody Guide, the Sweat app, I created the Instagram account and all these things, and there are people that I still know and that became real life friends with. One like 3 weeks ago came up like, "Are you Mel?" I'm like, "Yeah, like you look familiar." The last time I'd seen her was 6 years ago or 7 years ago at one of those meetups.
Wow.
And there's people that I've met online that become so close friends, now with Zoom and travel being easier and, texting, free texting, you can have a friend in Europe and you can WhatsApp them and it's like they're here.
Can you talk to us about meal prepping and, you know, just how you're fitting in workouts and stuff in terms of your challenge?
Yeah, I find that people overestimate the amount of time it takes to meal prep. You don't need to dedicate the whole Sunday to it and have everything ready in your little containers. Like your portion of vegetables, your portion of meat, your portion of carb. I have a method that that started making when I realized nobody in my house wants to eat what I eat. So I just set it like in the morning, I set the rice cooker, I boil a pot of pasta, and I make a variety of meats. Usually, I throw some chicken in the Instant Pot, like I make some meatballs, some ground beef, and then I cook vegetables. And I have all this in containers in the fridge. And then it's dinner time. It's like, okay, what would you like? I have this child that doesn't eat chicken anymore because we ate too much chicken. So, what, for that kid, we warm up some pasta and some meatballs and some vegetables. I probably eat the same and just add some chicken. Then we have my husband, who's on his own meal plan, who eats half the chicken I cooked for the week with vegetables and adds tons of spices. And then I have another kid who, wants to just eat meat. And it kind of is easier with the mixing and matching, especially my kids are older now, so they have their own schedule. You have one kid that has an activity at 6, so you need to eat dinner at 5:30, but the rest of the family doesn't want to eat. So that makes it a lot easier. So for me, the meal prepping is on this Sunday. I just make whatever I have. Takes 2 hours. But I also think key is to always make more. If you're cooking a meal on a Tuesday night and you have a family of 4, just pretend you're 8. And
Mhm.
even if your kids get school lunch, then you have like four meals gone, but you have 4 meals that can be lunches for the rest of the week.
Mhm. Right.
I think that's the make more method is totally underrated because what's the meal prep? It's eating freaking leftovers every day, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that is also that takes so much time and stress away from the whole feeding yourself situation. And especially if you are measuring foods, it's easier to just eat the same thing. And I saw a great post on Instagram today. Oh, you want variety in your meal plan? You're married and you just said you're going to have sex with the same person only for the next 40 years. Yeah, how are you not going to eat the same meal for a week?
Yep, I reshared that. That was Aram of 4 weeks to the beach.
Yeah, I was like,
He's been killing it lately.
yeah, did you guys see like
With
the dancing
bananas
video?
and everything else he's been posting lately. But it's a good point. It's like
Yeah,
we people think that, they'll be like, I need more variety. This is boring or whatever. But they really are repeating the same meals.
In
You know
different
what I mean?
ways.
We're repeating a lot more than we think we are.
Yeah.
And if you find it boring, yeah, season your food.
Yes.
Make it plain and use a different sauce.
yeah,
I like to explain like your method of meal prepping, Mel. I think it's like I call it food prepping or
yeah,
ingredient prep. That way you have everything that you can mix and match and make it into something totally different. And if the kids won't eat the leftovers, that's fine. You and your husband can eat them.
yeah. That's like I love when they don't eat the leftovers because there's more for me. Like, okay, this is like I have some emergency chicken nuggets, you eat this. But it's really you make like what I usually do is I put chicken breast in the Instant Pot with some broth and then I cook it and it's shredded chicken. You can make an Italian bake with pasta, tomato sauce, and the chicken and some cheese. You can make tacos by adding Mexican spice. You can even make, I don't know, probably Indian by adding some curry. You can have all this variety. You just need to change the spice.
Mhm.
No,
Spices are so important. Jenna turned me on to so many good ones from Trader Joe's. Do they have Trader Joe's in Canada?
no, we don't. But every time I go down to the US, that's my first stop. We have thankfully restocked up because right now, obviously, we can't buy American stuff anymore because, we are elbows up, we're boycotting everything.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
You
Yeah.
know, so it's a little hard because I'm like, oh, thank God we stocked up because then because right now we're not going south. But
Mhm.
Trader Joe's hasn't come up here, but obviously, you can find spices in different places. But Trader Joe's is really also for like easy, healthy meals that you can heat up. It's really, if you're in the States, that's like I'd live there.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mel, I just wanted to ask you, what's the fitness scene around where you are? There's like a lot of yoga and gyms and things like that.
So we go through phases, and I don't know if we are always a little behind the States, but there was a phase where circuit was really, really big.
Mhm.
And I still like my mommy baby class is a circuit class because that's a concept that makes sense. We
Mhm.
had a hot yoga phase, but right now the big thing is Pilates. And
Ah,
that has really, really lasted. I think one big thing was like that it's small classes, and when everything reopened, that worked well because you could do like 2 people or 3 people, on the reformers. But right now, there's a Pilates studio popping up. Like, just I'm in Montreal, but I'm within a small town in Montreal. Within the radius of like me driving 10 minutes, there's probably 6 Pilates studios.
wow. That's cool.
And I'm like, that's so boring. Like, who wants to do that?
Well, I've never tried it, but I've been wanting to try it just because, like you said, same here. They're just popping up everywhere. And I have a friend who has a studio, um, and she's had hers for like, I don't know, a very, very long years and years and years. So I don't know. I might try it one of these days.
The
I think you
people,
have to.
the people who like it, like I know they're religious about it. They're like every week they don't miss their Pilates class and stuff. So it must be they must enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
mean, I don't get it either.
I will say to my friend's credit that owns the studio, she lifts. Okay. She lifts 4 days a week. So she's not just doing Pilates. So she definitely has a balanced approach to it. But Mel, can you tell us where people can reach out to you and the kind of coaching that you offer and all of that good stuff?
So I'm on Instagram as Fierce Mama Collective. And that's probably the best way to find me because I kind of live on the gram right now. And if anybody who listens to this is in Montreal and is a new mom, I teach one class per week circuit in Westmount. That is a mommy baby fitness class, which is super fun. You know, I get to hold a baby. That's why I do it, not no other reason. And I have my own app, the Fierce Mama Collective, where it is mostly for moms who struggle to make fitness fit into their lives. It's workouts to do from home at your own time. None of them is longer than 30 minutes. You also get a meal plan that might be a little bit repetitive at the beginning, but you know, you'll learn how to use it, you learn how to make it exciting and to change the flavor. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. There's a postpartum program as well, and I'm in the process of working on something for like old ladies like me that are perimenopause. But yeah, my whole thing is about making fitness fit into your life, and it can't be too complicated. It can't be too time consuming because otherwise, how are we gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Mel's gonna make you work.
Yes.
Yes, no excuse.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was really such a fun time chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. I think that you guys have a podcast. It's one of the coolest things. You know, it's something I've been wanting to do, and I really admire when you know you get it together every week. You put out an episode. That's tough, and that's awesome.
Yeah, well, hey, if we can do it, you can do it.
Yeah,
Trust me.
absolutely.
I guess you were not born with a podcast, right? Just like you know, we
No.
were not born in a fit body.
That's
Um,
right.
I just want to take a quick picture of us. So smile, pose, bicep. All right. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you later.
So nice to meet
So
you, Mel.
nice to meet you guys too.
Meet you.
Bye.
Bye.